Peace and bliss. I am Shivata, aka King Chi, and I am back with another tool for your toolkits. Today we are definitely at part 5 of the Durga lessons in the 3D Durga lessons, and we are in the second portion of sensory understanding and becoming the energetics of what it means to have access to all of the weapons given to Durga in order to live a full life in a whole new plane of understanding. So, if you can hear me and see me clearly, and you're excited to explore this next level of sensory and understanding for your own selves, put some lines in the chat and let's get started. Peace, y'all. Peace. All right. So, firstly, I want to share with you, just so you're not confused, there are a couple of variations between the weapons, the numbers of arms that you're going to see in different pictures of Ma Durga. For example, the picture that you are working on and you're coloring with, there are some tools there that you're not going to see in others. There are 10 specific tools that she's received, but if you look at them throughout the stories, is about 12 actually. And you will see her with between 8 to 10 arms. So while that's all very surface information, I want us to begin to understand what these tools are about and what they represent for us as practitioners of this science when it comes to understanding the symbolism and the energetics of the mantras connected with the iconography of the deity. Okay? In spiritual arts, there is a very necessary connection between what we receive visually and what we experience, um, where the outside information becomes internal information. That's where you meet the school of esoteric knowledge and understanding, simply put. Okay? So I'm going to give you 3 of her tools today and express to you that one, each of the tools give us information regarding the types of characteristics we are looking to attain for ourselves. Now that we've colored in all of Ma Durga, you understand that what she has, you have. And if you don't realize you have it yet, meaning realizing it into manifesting it into your daily lifestyle, you're working towards getting there. Okay? The first tool I want to speak about, which has a very consistent meaning throughout different systems of, I don't want to continue to use the word occult, but hidden science, things like divination, dream symbolism, even in uniforms. Okay, I want to start with the kanda, the sword. Okay, so we're going to start here. Write down number one of her tools is the sword. The first thing that you want to always think about when it comes to the symbolism and meaning of the sword is the mind. Okay? For those of you who have worked with Lord Ganesha in the past, Lord Ganesha is the one who gives Ma Durga this sword. This sword represents the intellect. This sword represents discernment. This sword represents the one who has obtained a level of authority because they can see clearly and make decisions between what is right and what is wrong. Okay? So there's a level of clarity there that is supposed to come about through your work, where the mind is beyond the confusion of the mundane, of what's right in front of you. Okay? This ability to be able to discern between what is right and what is wrong also leads one to the ability to comprehend what is in the present moment. Okay? So the better grasp you have on the information in any form that it comes to you, your mind will be able to comprehend, meaning digest, and then relate to you in ways in which you can operate with more clarity. All right? A sword is something that you'll see high ranking officers with. They have access to this type of weaponry, not because we walking around here using swords anymore, right? But it symbolizes that person's ability to experience various types of emotional, chaotic things going on and still know when it's time to pull their sword and when it's not. That's something that's going to continue to be very important for you for the rest of your life. And the better you get at that, you'll notice that you won't have to pull it as often. If that makes sense, let me know. Okay? Um, Having clear thinking also has to do with the fact that your mind is not clouded by negativity. So, one of the issues that causes a person to not be able to discern is really rooted in the fact that there's a habitual negative inner thinking, talking that is happening that causes the individual to almost always feel like it's time to pull their sword. All right? And we'll talk a little bit more about how that's related to some of the other weapons and the characteristics that you'll be building as you move into this fifth dimensional living. Okay? All right. I feel like the sword is very straightforward. This next tool that I'm going to discuss with you all, I find it to be one of the most powerful, um, most useful, and most necessary tools to even focus your meditations on. And I say that because so long as we are here, we have this duty or agreement to exist within these realities. Okay? The moment we reincarnate here, it just is what it is. So, this second tool is the trident. All right? And I want to go ahead and say that carrying this trident, and again, the symbolism of it throughout spirituality is very, very consistent. Okay? One, beginning with the fact that the trident represents these three different worlds or these 3 different realities. In that way, it operates like a key with 3 locks on it. Sorry, like a key to 3 different locks on it. Okay? Having the keys to these realities is one power. Okay? The ability to unlock each of those doors is another power. The ability to open and close each of these realities is a more advanced level of power when it comes to the trident. And finally, holding it and being aware of it all to the point in which you surpass your need to balance anything because it becomes one tool. There's a flow to it. Let me explain. So we have the 3 gunas. And looking at my Durga, who has this as a tool, she's above. She has access to each of these worlds and realms, but she's above the illusion that we experience here because we're still in some way attached to the variations of frequencies. So, for example, with the tamas, which represents one of the lower octaves of frequency, because it brings to us a moment of inertia, total inactivity, and stillness. None of those things that I mentioned are necessarily negative, okay? They exist in darkness and chaos. However, the problem lies in which one stays very predominantly in that space of inactivity, of inertia, where things coagulate, right? You know, like the blood comes out and it was in a flow, it was given life, and now that it's outside of its connection with consciousness, it coagulates, it materializes, it gets more dense. The issue with being in this state of being just by itself, when we separate it, is that this is where we can find ourselves in a state of stagnation. We can find ourselves in a state of depression, feeling things like guilt, shame, laziness, no movement because there's a sense of apathy. There's just blah, okay? And all that seems to matter is matter. All right? So when we get stuck there, we understand that the higher octaves of our spiritual calling, right? Your personal righteousness, whatever your spiritual truth is your personal righteousness. You won't have access to it. Therefore, you don't have any movement towards it. Okay? However, there's a moment where if you need to reset and you think about the movement of laying flat on your back, right? That moment gives you enough friction, stillness, and grounding for you to tap into the void where darkness is, to pull out what's next. But you can pull out what's next if you're understanding the flow into next, the rajas. Press 1 in the chat if you're following. Okay. Press 2 in the chat if I'm going too fast. Okay. Cool. All right. So we move into rajas, which is the second guna that brings us activity, passion, desire. Okay? This is the energy that causes one to move forward. Those things that you feel attracted to, and you feel they're attracted to you in return. Okay? It is a state of attraction. It is a state of movement. It is a state of expansion. All right? When we get into the state of high energy, we're able to make the necessary changes and move into a flow towards those things. Okay? So now we're shaking things up. All right? So what's the issue? Because I'm giving you the pros and cons of each so that when we move into the next guna and the power of the trident, you'll understand their roles. When we have a longing or we have a desire to achieve something, to attain it, there can be a sense of being locked in and attached to whatever that thing is that you're working towards, whatever things that you manifest out of that, you become attached to it with a sense of like ownership, needing those things that represent that you've been able to obtain what you desire. And if that's not necessarily going that way and you're having all of this energy moving forward, that energy does not have a place to go. It can become restless. That energy, if it feels like I'm longing for something, can cause a deep sense of pain and resentment. Okay? It can cause an individual to lose sleep because all they are consumed with energetically is this thing that they're longing for. So this overthinking, which you all know causes anxiety times 1,000, can create worry, fears. All right? So the pros and the cons. We need the energy, we need the passion, we need the excitement here to feel kind of even attached and a part of living, right? And it's the thing that helps us to think bigger, to dream, to imagine, to create. Got me? With that type of energy, you tap into the courage to make certain changes so that you can be in a flow. All right? The thing is, people who are averse to their humanness, they'll lean towards the cons of this, thinking that some levels of attachment in this reality have no purpose if we're in an illusion, right? So we move forward into the third guna, just sattva. Here is a state of being in harmony, peace. Okay? This is the state in which we are able to tap into light, into love, compassion, empathy, understanding, comprehension about what's very meaningful and real to us, right? We're able to have gratitude. And with a sense of awareness that this is an illusion and things may change, you have more power over the present moment in your reality. The reason why we want to work towards this sattva is because if we can come from a place of high frequency, having the bird's eye view of what life really is, then we have more power over the other two gunas that are a little lower in frequency and then all the way lower in frequency. And we're able to shift out of them as necessary. You see what I'm saying? Because if you live down here, you can't control up here. If you live here, you might can control here, but you can't control up here. When you live up here, then you have the ability to tap in and come out. You have the energy and the foresight to tap in, utilize what you need, and come out. So from this state of frequency, you have more power. Okay? Now, the issue with the mentality of being totally sattvic, okay? One, being totally anything still keeps you in the illusion that there's any separation at all. But striving towards being sattvic, being that it's so difficult anyway, because there's more people not living at that level than there are. So your environment is a part of that experience. But the idea of becoming sattvic to the extreme that you become attached to that knowledge of what it means to be here and beyond this illusion, that level of attachment can end up turning around on itself and isolating you. Okay? That level of attachment will then turn around and remove from you real joy and contentment. Because if you can't be content and satisfied fully with it all, because you're so attached to everything having to be to give you this sensation of joy and pleasure and bliss, you're now moving yourself back into that rajas. All right. So it is definitely a game of subtleties. And overall, the trident reminds you to be present. Okay? To be present. Because all of the three gunas and their relationship to your interaction with them also revolve around the past, the present, and the future. All right? Which is going to lead us into our third weapon and what it means to embody the characteristic of the weapon. Okay? Because it's not just so two-dimensional, like, I got a sword and demons are coming at me, and like, It's a deeper understanding. Okay? All right. Let me see some lines or some ones if you're ready for the third weapon. All right. Okay, cool. So the third weapon that I want to share with you all and bring your attention to is the chakra disc. Okay? Somebody mentioned it in their sharing within the group that they noticed that either my Durga is not touching the chakra wheel or somehow it just is her. And I thought that was a brilliant observation because the visual stimulation of that understanding lets us know that at the level of my Durga, what is the will? Okay, she received. Oh, I'm sorry, she receives the trident from Shiva. She already know that, right? What is the significance of this will to my Durga that she receives from Vishnu? The way that she holds it is the characteristic that you're leaning towards. Okay? I want you to think of each thing as a characteristic, which is a tool, which is a weapon. So write that down. Each weapon is a characteristic, which is a tool, which is a weapon. Okay? That brings you full circle. So the chakra wheel that she receives, it represents the universe, but it also represents time. Okay? It represents time and the universe. What I like about seeing her in the pictures where like her fingers in the center and it's spinning, it lets us know that at the highest expression of our own divinity, we are able to tap into being in this world, but not of this world. That the world that exists continues to move around us, okay? In all of who we are, what we are getting to observe as observers of our reality, all are a part of who we are. It is our energy that is spinning this universe around us. Okay? It's like the world doesn't touch you, the world is you. See what I'm saying? You can go from the world's touching you, like pushing you around, making you do and feel and whatever, or the world is you. And therefore, when you are totally standing in the center of that understanding, you can observe it. Leaning on the characteristic of the trident, all that has already passed by is gone. All that is in the future, it's not necessarily going to happen. we don't know that it's going to happen. All we know is right now, no matter how much you can like have phenomenal foresight and you can have premonitions, you can know your chart, you can get your life reading. There are variations that occur in between all of those stops that you have no idea and cannot see them and how they're going to happen. Okay? And quite honestly, if that were the case, what would be the point if you already know everything that's going to happen? There's no reason for incarnating here. Okay? So it's best to stand at the center and understand that time in its existence is really the only thing that creates enough tension through its principle for us to recognize a past or a future, because they're not real things. Okay? The chakra wheel that she receives reminds you that having a conscious awareness of that will help you not to get stuck or struck, pun intended, because the chakra is used to strike down. Okay? Struck by it. You don't want to be struck by the concept of time. You want to be at the center of it. Make sense? Because there's pushing and there's pulling and there's longing and nostalgia, and then there's suffering if you try to be on the disc. Notice that it's always the body's in the center. Okay? So of these three tools, weapons used to fight for your freedom and liberation from being caught on the wheel. Okay? I want you all to do a little self-reflecting on where you stand with each of these tools. The best types of meditations, self-reflective meditation prompts, are either to draw a picture of the item by itself on a sheet of paper, or print out one of the items on a sheet of paper and just look at it. Take a few moments to look at it. Utilize the exercises that you just went through to increase your sensibility of the world around you, and understand that you have a whole nother level of awareness built in when you go within, right? So take that image into your sight, close your eyes, and meditate on the characteristics that I shared with you and where you fall into place with that, where you at with it. And the trident will give you lots of feedback just based on your mood and where you are as far as your life and how you respond. Okay? So I hope that gives you lots of clarity on this Monday. I appreciate you all being here. We're almost through the 3D Durga portion of your lessons. And thumbs up to everybody in their recitation of the Devi Suktam. Very dope. Very, very dope. All right, I'm out. Peace, love, and bliss.